Okay, good afternoon, everybody. How are you all doing? This stream today, I'm going to be talking and demoing a little bit about MCP servers and how I've been using one recently, connecting it up the tools to the Zeit API to give my Copilot access to the Zeit API, which means we can web scrape easier. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through what I've done, and I'll show you the actual MCP server that I built, that I've been using, and then we'll talk a little bit about how to get it working with Copilot, what you need to do, and then we'll try building a project together, utilizing its features. That's my plan anyway. We'll see how far we get. Things don't work. Things don't work. No big deal, right? Okay, so let me make this a little bit bigger to start with. So the premise of an MCP server is to basically give your model access to tools, resources, and prompts, essentially. Now, what I've been doing here is I've been working solely with the tools, so that's kind of my experience. So what I want to show you in this case is how I've been building it. So let me have a quick run through this. So I've installed this, I have my Python virtual environment going, and what I did was basically take the, hang on one second. There we go. What I did was take the example. So what I've built up here, so this is my demo MCP server, right? So this is pretty straightforward, and I've got a few different tools in here. Now what is important to note is that when I was looking at MCP servers in the first instance, I was definitely overcomplicating some of it. And I think that was the case when they first came out. But since then, there's been frameworks built to make it very, very easy. And this is FastMCP. Now, this is a distinction because the Open MCP server thing, which is on GitHub, which is what I was originally looking at, does use FastMCP, but it uses version 1. Whereas if you use it directly, you can use version 2, which is what I'm using here. So it's important to note. So what you do is after you've imported it, is you call your MCP server like this. Now this is very similar to like Fast API or anything like that in Python, which you're probably used to. And then we have the option to build out, make this a couple bigger, build out tools. These are the tools that your AI, through Copilot in my case, but it could be anything that you utilize, will have access to. So they have the ability to use them and deal with them, and that's what we're going to build. So the first ones are just the demo ones, right? So we've got the add and subtract. But it's kind of important because I want to show you how we can expand on this and how it becomes something much more. So the first one, pretty straightforward. Now, there's a few things that are important about this that you need to notice. That the docstring is mandatory. If you don't have a docstring, when you run the MCP server, it will tell you, hey, there's no description here, I don't know what to do with it, because it's utilized by the AI to kind of figure out what the function does. And the second is the type hinting. That's important because that's what the FastMCP uses to create the schema for the data, so that the AI can talk back and forth with the tools externally. So in this case, we're just returning to it's straightforward. And I created another one that does subtract. These are two very basic tools. So what I wanted to do is, well, hang on a minute, if it's just a function, surely we can get data with it, right? And you absolutely can. This one itself, and I'll show you when these are working, when I've got it installed and we're going, this in itself is not that useful, right? Because we all know that your AI can actually access most or some data from the web anyway. So this is not that useful, but I wanted to use it as a comparison. So what I did then is that I took the information I took the code example from the Zeit Playground, the code snippet, and this is how to call the Zeit API. And then I turned that basically into this function here. There's a couple of things that we need to note. We want to take in the URL, obviously. So this is the URL, it's going to be our string. And then I've given it this note here, fetch data, fetch product data, because this uses our auto extract. There's a couple of other functions that don't, which might be useful too. The second thing is that I'm pulling my API key from my environment here. So this is my local environment. So this will work when the server's running on my machine. But in some cases, like this works with Copilot, but if you were to use this with Claude Desktop, for example, that your local environment isn't available. So you have to put your API key into the environment in the mcp.json, which I'll show you in just a minute. But it can pull it from my environment here, and I'm using it within Copilot, which stays within my system. So it knows where to look and where to find my API key. Now we have the post request itself, which is straightforward here. You know, this is how you make a request from to the Zeit API. Now, I put in my API key here. This is the URL, it's a post request, and this is the JSON body to get this information. This is using our auto extract for product, and I just copied this from our playground, which I showed you. Then I'm going to return this data as my API response, and this is coming back out as a dictionary, which I didn't put in here. Maybe that doesn't totally matter, but let's put it in anyway. So we can see now this is going to return a dictionary, and I know that this is a dictionary from working with our API. So that's one tool that I built up. So then I thought, well, that's all well and good, and I can see the usage for that, let's say, within a desktop AI, right? Because you can then hook it up to this MCP server, and you can then use it to pull extra context, extra information from different websites, formatted neatly in JSON, which is what our API at Zeit does, by utilizing our auto extract. Now, I'm a massive fan of our auto extract, but I don't know how utilized it is. I guess it depends on your use case, but I really like it. So that's one thing. But then it got me thinking, right, what else can we do? So we could return the HTML content, and how is that useful? What we can do then is we can give the page HTML to our Copilot, our AI, which then it can use to generate selectors for that from that HTML. Whereas if you were to try to do that without using the Zeit API, on a lot of websites, your AI is not going to have access to, so it won't be able to build those selectors for you. So we can start to like generate some parsing code with it. Now, it's not perfect, but it's a really good start. But with the help from this MCP server, giving it the actual HTML from the page, we can like get a really good step into it. And I found in a lot of cases they do work, they just need a little bit of tweaking. So this one here does exactly the same. I've duplicated myself here, I realized that. I'll show you my finished version. This is like a working version. I'll show you the finished version where it's much more polished after this. It does exactly the same thing, returns the HTML response body. I'm returning it within a dictionary again, and you have to decode it. Well, our HTML responses are base 64 encoded. And that's it. And then we have this mcp.run. Now, if you look through the documentation, it will talk about, you can try with your clients or whatever. So that's all well and good, but the easiest way I found to do it was just to do the install. So if I come over here, and if we were to do fast MCP install, now there's a few different options, but I want the MCP JSON because that's how my AI is going to get this. It's going to create a, I'll show you. It creates the JSON string that you need, right? So this is what you need to do. And to get this working within VS Code and Copilot, all you do is you do .vs code as a folder, and then you have your MCP JSON here. And then you put it in under the servers like this. That's all I did. I copy and pasted it in. And in fact, if you run this command with -- copy, it copies it to your clipboard, which is pretty handy. If you're not using Copilot or it within VS Code, it's slightly different, but FastMCP also has the option to install into all these other ones as well. So if I come down here, you can see we have Claude Code, Claude Desktop. I didn't use it with Claude Code, but I did use it with Claude Desktop, and that worked absolutely fine. It was really easy. You create a server and you can just run this command and it will install it with that. So if you're like a desktop kind of person that does that, this is how you would do that. There's a load of information down here, and there's more information about the MCP JSON configuration, which you may need to look at. The main thing being here is, and I'll come back to my code, once we create this MCP server and the MCP JSON, we don't only want it to work within this project, right? Because it's not that useful. But what we do is we just copy this MCP JSON file, put it into our VS Code in whichever project we want to use, and then we can utilize the MCP server within it, and it will actually auto run it for us and do everything, and Copilot will have access to it. Now you can install these globally in your machine, but I've stuck to doing it per project basis, so I know that because I've got a couple that I've been using, so I know that the ones that I want are in the right project, if that makes sense, rather than just having loads everywhere across all of my across my AI. So this is what I've been doing. Other important thing, it utilizes UV. So UV is like the new hot way of doing Python environments. I'd recommend you use it if you aren't already, but it's mandatory for this. Now, I think it's for Claude desktop, or it might be in globally, I can't remember, but you need to have UV installed throughout your whole machine. So on Mac, you need to do brew install UV. It's just a little pointer to know. I'm sure it will guide you. And the next thing is, this is where the file is that it's going to run, which means, you know, they'll always find this server. So I can also do Command Shift X, and now we have it down here, demo MCP server, and it's installed. And you can do start server there, or start server over here. I don't think it matters, and I don't think you need to do any of them. So now we can see discovered 5 tools, and it's using the standard output transport, which is fine for local. You know, if we were doing this remotely, we would want to use a different protocol. Now you can't see it because behind my head, and I'll move. I can move myself. Hang on. Let's jump up a little bit. You can see, like, just below here, there's this. This is like the configure tools. This is what you want to click on. Put myself back down here. And this is going to show us here that we have the MCP, the demo MCP server running. And it's going to list out the tools that we created. So you can see we have add, subtract, fetch HTML, our Zeit product, and our HTML Zeit. So that's it. It's now installed, up and working, and it's going to work within this project however, whatever we want, right? So I'm just going to go and let me grab some URLs, a URL real quick. I'm actually just going to do this for a second. And come back over here. Cool. So now I can say, let's work with our thing first. So I'll just do add 5 and 6, and I'll just say use the MCP server just as an example, right? It's important we need to be in agent mode as well. But now we can see it's saying, hey, do you want to run this on through your server? I'll just go yeah, and obviously you can say yes to run it through every time you're in your workspace or whatever. Okay, so it's done that. So I'm going to say request the HTML for this page without site. I don't know if that works, if that command works. Yep, so we're going to say request HTML, right? So I've given it a URL. So let's see what it comes back with. So it's saying it's returned a block page. And this is why having the MCP with Zeit integration is really useful. So I'm saying same again with the Zeit product, and this is a product page if I copied the right one. So I hit enter and go yes, and we should now get the product data. And this has come straight back from Zeit API, and it's just summarizing it for me. This has come from JSON data. Yeah, see this, you need the full JSON, and this is the information for that product. So that's the product extract, but if we wanted to do the HTML, we could say same again, but I want the HTML. And it will come up and it'll say, do you want to use this? Get HTML from Zeit, that's the right function. And go continue. And this should then retrieve the full HTML. Now, one thing I found with this is that this worked flawlessly in Copilot with any of the models I was trying. GPT 4.1 is what I'm using at the moment, but we worked with GPT 5 Preview. When I tried to do this with Claude Code, I don't know whether I had something wrong, but it didn't like it. It said that there was a token limit, which strikes me as a bit strange because, yeah, it's quite a long piece of HTML, but Copilot managed it just fine. Anyway, I'll just do a quick demo of this here, and I'll say, assuming my project uses BS4 for write a passing function using selectors from that HTML. Wow, my typing is terrible. Okay, so now it's written us this. This is what it would look like, right? And it's found the selectors that it wants to use. it gets a bit creative with some of them. So this is kind of the start of what I wanted to show you, right? So we got a no using standard requests. We would probably get a no using AI as well, but then we can use it through our MCP. So let's have a look at our actual MCP server that I created. I need to find a better way of hiding my screen, so you're just gonna have to look at me again for a minute. I don't want to give away too many trade secrets. And I also don't want to show you how badly organized my folder structure is. Right, this is it. Cool. So here's the actual one that I ended up using, right? So I basically prompted a lot of this and tweaked it. So I've used Pydantic for the responses. I didn't think this was probably that necessary, but I like the idea of using the classes and models like this for my data whenever I'm doing it in Python. So I let the AI do it. Then what we did is we create a Zeit API client. Because we're going to be making requests through HTTP, even though it's come from our MCP, we might as well have an API client, right? And it just uses requests and a request session. And it does everything that we need it to do, and we can tweak it. What this means is that when we have our functions down here that do things, we can see and we can make changes, and it'll affect it across anything. And then our actual MCP tool, if I just squash out my return classes and my client, our actual MCP just looks like this, right? So we have an extract product, extract HTML with browser, and it's so much more neat, and there's no repetition, and we know exactly what's going on. And I think you can see here it's got some of my history where I was testing some bit down here, same product, I think. So let's have a look at our MCP JSON. That's this here. I'm going to go ahead and copy this, and we're going to start a new project up. Back to full cam until I figure out, maybe get a blur screen or something, just a bit more appealing. So let's go and create a new project. Give me a second. Should have done this ahead of time really, but I want doesn't matter. Projects. Okay, we can come back now. So what I'm going to do, and I've tried this, but some of it needed a little bit of tweaking. So let's just see how it goes, right? Let's get to our terminal, and let's just do the whole thing. Let's just UV initialize, and we'll add UV add, and we want Scrapy, and Scrapy Zeit API is probably all we want. Get that added. VMV activate, and then we'll do Scrapy start project, and we'll just go to base project, CD into it, and we'll generate a spider, and we'll just do it on this website. Cool. So this is a very simple, straightforward Scrapy project. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create my folder .vs code, and then in here I'm going to do mcp.json. Got it saved. Excellent. So if I do Command Shift X, we'll have this, and we can see Zeit MCP server, trust and run. Yeah, I'm happy with that. And there we go. Discovered 3 tools. I'm just checking this again. And there we are. There's the 3 tools. So now I have access to those. So what we're going to do is we're going to do our best to prompt our way to success here. Now, I'm going to go to my Scrapy settings, and we need to make some changes to this first because it'll work better. Some things that are in there that we don't want to be like. So we want more of this, and we're not worried about this for the moment, and we'll change this to this as well. And then we need to do our add-ons. I can never remember this part. Well, do you remember it? I don't remember it. Okay, let's find it. Initial setup. always find that when I copy something, every time I never remember what it is. There we go. Put that in there. No, thank you, Copilot. Okay. So this now means that all of our scraping requests are going to go through the Zeit API. It's always going to know, because I've got my Zeit API key stored in the correct environment variable. It talks about it here. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to set this, because it's going to find it. It's going to find it because it's called this. If you call it something different, you'll need to set it. And it's going to enable transparent mode by default. And this is something that I totally overlooked before. It just means that basically, if you don't do anything, it will just always send the requests through your through the Zeit API, just a standard kind of like normal request, which is exactly what we want. So there we go. Right, so let's check I'm in the right folder. Too nested. Oh, it doesn't matter. Right, so let's come to our agent. So I'm going to say, let's get the extract the HTML for this using a browser. Now I'm going to use the browser HTML. This should come up and ask me if I want to use my MCP server, which I do. I want to use the browser HTML because I think it's going to give us a better option for generating the selectors. I'm not entirely sure in this case, but you know, it'll be a good starting point either way. Okay, so what I want to do is update the pass function, my spider, to extract the standard product data points from this page. So I'm going to shrink this down and we'll see where we get to. Oh, I never generated a spider. Well, there it is. Oh no, I did. There it is. So I'm going to change my start URL whilst we're here to this, and we'll see what this comes up with. Okay, so this looks like it might work. What it's done is I can see that it's generating an item inline, which generally don't do, but it does seem to work. So let's see. There we go. So we've got, so it's none of it is it's still like needs tidying up, but it's generated these selectors and it seems to have got all the information, right? So okay, the price didn't work, that's fine, we can change that, but a lot of it did. What I'm going to do is I'm going to now try and tidy this up a bit because it's a bit of a mess. So what we'll do is we'll do a bit more prompting and we'll just see where we get to. So I say I don't want images, but I know you can't see this, it's behind me. Can move it out, I suppose. But create the item in the items.py file and use that. So I'm going to get it to try and create it in the items, and then I'm going to get rid of the images because I just clog it all up, and we'll just make sure that this works. And then, you know, I think I've demonstrated my point as much as I can. Let's see. Okay, product item, name, price, description. Okay, that looks all right. Still working. And we've changed some lines in the spider. So let's keep this. That's fine. And we've done something quite funky here. I might need to undo this. See, it's not quite got this right, yeah? So we want to do this, and this needs to go up the top. So we're nearly there. Okay. Specs table. Let's try that again then. Much better. So we're still not picking up the price. So the price selector hasn't worked. So let's have a better look at it because that would be something that we would definitely be interested in. So we can see that it's trying to get 2 or 3 of them, and it's trying to add them together. So it's doing price small. So let's have a look at the actual selector and see where it went wrong. Yeah, so it's picking this up, right, and it's trying to add these all together, but instead of that we could just do price, class price, right? So it's not quite made it there, but it's done a pretty good starting point. So we only want, was it a span, right? So it's kind of got it. It's not far off. It's not far off, but it's not quite there. So let's just get rid of this, and we'll leave it as that. And let's try it again. I just want to make sure that it, show that it does need a little bit of tweaking when you do it like this. But like, I haven't had to go through any of it. It's pulled all of this out fine. It's still not liking that. That's interesting. So let's do, it should be span.price. It's probably not finding it underneath of that. So we'll do, let's change that out and see if we get this back now. Yeah, so it's not picking it up in there in that selector. So something's gone wrong in here, which we would need to investigate. But the change of just investigating this versus having to go through all of the selectors, I've now reduced my workload down to just having to find like get all. Okay, I'll try that. Just trying to find those the ones that don't work rather than having to do the whole thing. Okay, so that's it. So we can see here that get all has found all of them. So that means that there's a few different ones on the page that match this. So that would need some interpreting, right? We would need some human intervention with that. But the name is absolutely fine. The SKUs in there, we haven't done any data cleaning, by the way. That would come in. We put that into our pipeline that we would need to do. But apart from that, it's done a pretty good job. Now, from creating that MCP server and giving our agent access to these tools has given us the option just to quickly and easily save some time when we're creating our projects. So for me, it's a win-win. It's a win-win. It's a really good way of giving access for your AI to any tools or data that are specific to you that it doesn't have access to. And in this case, is what I've used it for. So, I mean, it's I really enjoyed going through this and figuring this stuff out and putting it together, and I'm going to refine the process a bit more and see how well I can make it. And it's been great. So and creating the MCP server was I prompted most of it. All of what I showed you in that folder, dead easy. You just kind of got to understand how it works. Now there's lots of functionality in it that I'm not using, but for basic functionality, it's done really well. Can I show the project? Yes, it'll be available afterwards somewhere. Once this goes up as a VOD, I'll have the link there because I haven't got it to hand, but it'll be here somewhere for you. So yeah, so that's going to do it for this. I've really enjoyed this, and as I said, the MCP server stuff's really cool. Dead easy to get started, so I recommend that you guys go ahead and give it a go yourself. If you want to try the Zeit API, there'll be a link somewhere. We'll paste a link somewhere that means you can get some free credit to try it, and that free credit will get you quite a long way, and you'll be able to give it a real good shakedown as well. But yeah. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're not already. That really does help us. And thank you very much for watching, everybody. And I will see you again probably next week. Probably. I should know my schedule. I should do. Lakshay will tell me. All right, guys. Cheers. Bye.